Hello, and welcome back to In Case You Missed It, you guys. Today's episode, you may be right, I may be crazy. I'm not sure, but either way, today is going to be a good day. It is Monday afternoon, 3:19 my time, Chicago, Illinois. I don't know what time you decide you want to listen to the podcast, but hello, welcome. I hope your weekend was great. My weekend was amazing. I'm 1-1 for the NBA playoffs. Not NBA. For the playoffs for the NFL. I'm 1-1. I was right about the Rams, unfortunately. And I was wrong about the Bengals Chiefs game. I was actually pleasantly surprised that I was wrong. And I'm actually happy I was wrong. I have to say this weekend was great. The Bulls kind of got back on track, as well as a lot of things have been happening in the NBA that's literally going to shake up a lot of things. So, I mean, let's just get into it. Let's start. I did get some feedback that, some of the women that have listened to my podcast, they're like, actually one of my really good friends, I've known her since I was like a child. She was like, yeah, it would be nice for you to kind of just like explain to us what's going on, what's happening. So today, just part of the podcast, I will be breaking down different positions in basketball for the people who are casual watchers, but you don't know what they mean when they say, oh, he's a 5, but he can play a 3 and a 4. So just stay tuned for that. Make sure you listen in for that, because I can't wait to just break it down for you guys and just give you understanding of what they're talking about. So you have some knowledge. I mean, who doesn't want knowledge? 100% though. I don't know how you guys felt this weekend for the playoffs, but I felt great. I felt like it was a great time to be alive. I wanted to start off with the playoffs, but obviously I'm not going to, because I want to talk about the Bulls. I want to start off by saying the Bulls listen to me. The Bulls, I think, listen to my podcast, because that game against the Thunder was everything that I said needed to happen. I said a young person needs to step up, start making shots. Ayo Dasumu, I hate butchering his name, but like he literally ended the night with 24 points. He shot 71.4 from the field, like his field goal percentage was 71.4, 66.7 from 3-point. I mean, yeah, it doesn't happen often, but it happened. 5 rebounds, 8 assists, and 1 block against the Thunder. At one point, the Thunder was coming back, and I was just kind of shocked and just like, you guys had control of the game the whole time. Why are we letting the Thunder come back? But they got it together. It was Zach LaVine's first game back. He looked pretty okay. Obviously, when you're out with injury, you don't come back as, I'm trying to figure out the word, energetic. His energy was lacking just a little bit for me, but it was okay because I knew he was coming back from injury, but he also provided like a really good spark for the team. So I was actually impressed, but at the same time, like defensively, Zach LaVine definitely needs to step it up just a tad bit for me. He has like great size on him, great wingspan. So a lot of times I wish he would kind of just use that to his advantage. I don't think he's like a pushover. He's not super skinny where, they could just get him in a post and just bully him. Like he needs to use that eventually, and I think he will eventually. So I was really, really happy about the Thunder game. Unfortunately, then the Spurs game happened and everything that I literally said in my last podcast, they did, standing around watching DeMar DeRozan and not getting a lot of people involved, letting the Spurs team shoot 43.2% from the 3-point line is actually not a recipe to win any games. This is maybe, since I've been doing my podcast, I don't know how many games where I've literally said the Bulls have let their opponents shoot a high percentage from the 3-point line. I know the game has changed. I was watching an interview that Iman Shumpert was talking about, like how him, how like the style of play would be different from the war for whoever wins between like them and the Warriors. The Cavs and the Warriors were like literally Loki and Thor. Like, it was two different people with kind of like the same influence, like kind of like gods in the NBA, and it's just kind of just like, I guess Thor, you can kind of like see maybe Thor was the Warriors and then Loki was probably the Cavs. People don't take them too serious, but we still know they're strong. I don't know, but it was just something like that. So I just remember him saying like whoever was gonna win the most championships out of the series, they would be the standard for the NBA. Like that's how a lot of people would play. So, and he's right. A lot of people are literally shooting from the 3-point line. I mean, I literally saw Zach LaVine just come to the top of the key, pull up, and just let it fly. And I'm just like, so we're not going to go into any offensive sets. Like, we're going to run a play. Someone's going to, do a pick and roll. Like, what are we doing? I just came up and shoot a three. So I understand that that's the way that the league is going. And I totally know it has to do a lot with Steph and his success. And he's actually one of my favorite players playing right now. So this is not me being negative. This is me just being really, really honest and saying the Bulls can't play that way. At the end of the day, we have teams like Miami playing really, really well. They're still the first in the East, guys. They're getting healthy again. They're playing really well. And also the Cavs. Who would have thought I would have been talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers being number 4 in the East? Like, they're number 4. They're not the worst team. They're not exactly the best team, but let's be honest, they're not even not the best team. The East is really up for grabs. It is, and it makes you wonder, is really the East, guys, not is really the East, but is the East competitive? I mean, there's only 2.5 games separating 1 and 6 in the East. And, the top 6 teams in the East right now is the Heat, Bulls, Sixers, Cavaliers, Bucks, and Nets. And there's only 2.5 games separating the Nets and the Heat. There's only a half game separating the Bulls and the Heat. So, is it because it's competitive? Or is it because the East is not as strong as the West? I mean, you can make both arguments if you really want to talk about it, and I kind of do want to talk about it, but I also want you guys to get involved with it. So that's why I'm taking a second to plug all of the social media in case you missed it. Please, if you do listen to my podcast, a good way to interact with me is to follow me on all social media platforms, from Instagram to Facebook to Snapchat to even a new social media platform called Fanbase. It's super easy to navigate. You can follow me on there. You guys can submit questions. You can submit comments. You can do everything. Please interact with me, even including on TikTok. I would love the interaction because I would love to know everyone else's opinion. Yes, the podcast is just me talking like a crazy old lady with no cats, no dogs. I like dogs, but no cats, no dogs. But I really, really would love to hear the opinions of everyone else. So please, if you do listen to my podcast, if you are like, hey, I want to support this girl, please follow me on all those social media platforms. It is, in case you missed it, if you can't find it, just look up Nakia Skinner. There's not a lot of Nakia Skinners in this world. Trust me, I am the one, the only. I've looked everywhere. Haven't really found another Nakia Skinner. So just please follow me on that and answer my question. Is the East competitive? Or is the East really just not that good? Because, when you look at it, 2.5 games separating 1 and 6, doesn't really make me think they're competitive. But also kind of, maybe they're competitive. Who knows? So I just want to know the opinion of that. And it also raised the question of, is the West better than the East? I mean, the Phoenix Suns are the only team with a winning percentage of over 900 over like 2 different months. They were 16-0 in November, and then they were 13-1 this month in January. So is the Western Conference better? Or, I mean, there's 12 games separating 1 and 6 in the West. There's 12 games, 12 whole games. So, it's a good question. And how do I say this? I get frustrated watching the Bulls because DeMar DeRozan is a superstar. I think that DeMar DeRozan is an amazing player. He reminds me a lot of himself. He doesn't even remind me of anyone. His game, I love his mid-range game. It's very Kawhi Leonard-ish. If I was to compare him to anyone, and obviously Kawhi Leonard has been compared to Scottie Pippen. So I guess if I'm comparing anyone, I'm comparing DeMar DeRozan to Scottie Pippen. Except for me, DeMar DeRozan doesn't have that defensive prowess that Scottie Pippen had. Like, Scottie Pippen can score some points, but he can also defend the best person on the other team, or their best player on the other team. So would I ever trust DeMar DeRozan to defend another player on another team, or their best player on another team? Not really. But because of his size, and because of I don't want to say his quickness, because DeMar DeRozan, to me, if you look at him on defense, he moves his feet really slowly. And a lot of, how slow he moves as far as his feet, he makes up for it with his like wingspan and how tall he is, how long he is, but that can only get you so far. He doesn't have really quick reactions to the ball as much as I would like when you watch him on defense. But he's not a defensive liability like a James Harden. Sorry, not sorry, but let's just be honest. He's not a defensive reliability like James Harden. Like, we'll go out and play defense. Just don't expect him to be your best defender. And they have actually a lot of really, really decent players offensively, but defensively on the Bulls, they have some pit bulls. When I was watching the Thunder game, I have to get his name, but he really impressed me with how he played, and I believe it was Troy Brown Jr. I liked the way that he played defensively against the Thunder. And like I said, it's just a lot of promise as far as that is concerned. It was just little mental notes that if you agree with me, if you don't, that's fine. But I know what I watched. Again, the Thunder game was way too close for me. I felt like the Bulls had it under control. The Bulls were in control, but they took their foot off the neck of the Thunder, and then they ended up only winning 111-110. So, I mean, that's a problem for me. I don't know if this is a problem for you, but it's a problem for me. So I just want the Bulls to start beating the teams that they're supposed to beat, which they do. So great job with that. But I need them to start putting teams away. They're not the only team who has that issue. A lot of teams who are actually really, really good have that issue. So it's not me just harping just on the Bulls. It's more just me saying, when we get to the playoffs, and LeBron James and every other great player said it themselves, the hardest game to win is a closeout game. And in order to kind of like get prepared for those moments where they play, let's say they do a lot can happen being number 2 overall. We don't really know what the playoff brackets would be, but let's say if we want to give just a scenario of, let's see what happens. So obviously right now it's Miami, the Bulls, 76ers, the Cavaliers, the Bucks, Nets, and the Hornets and the Raptors would be the 7th and the 8th seed. So obviously with the Bulls ending number 2, they would go against the Hornets. Now, the Hornets are 28 and 23. The Bulls are 31 and 18. Again, it's not that much separating a lot of teams in the East. So, the Bulls obviously would be the favorites to win this series. But if they don't have what, I don't even want to say it, but like that Mamba Michael Jordan mentality of like, we got to put these people away. Like, I don't want to play no more games. It can easily go from what most people would probably be like a 5-game series to a 7-game series. And here we are playing 7 games in the first round. Who wants to do that? So I just believe that the Bulls moving forward just need to do a better job when it comes to putting the teams that they are gonna beat away. So that's what I need them to do. That's what I think a lot of fans, including myself, want them to do. And hopefully, they just start doing that. I mean, it's just plain and simple. I don't know how else to say it, but hopefully they just start doing that. I know this past weekend, a lot of people were remembering Kobe Bryant. And really quickly, I just wanted to say like a memory of mine. I remember, I was born in 92. So 92 was, around the time the Bulls were winning so many championships. I was a child. So I remember maybe a little bit, people who were probably born in the 80s, 70s probably have a deeper connection to the Chicago Bulls around the time than I would. So when I started watching basketball, I was watching Kobe. I was watching, not only, I had a huge crush on Kobe Bryant. I mean, he was a very attractive man, but I loved the way he played. Him and Shaq, to me, were just, I mean, it couldn't get no better as a young girl growing up of Shaq and Kobe, and especially Kobe Bryant. I remember when my mother's husband, he had a nephew who came to just stay with us for a couple of times, and he had a Kobe Bryant jersey. And he would wear it, and I would just be like, oh, I love your Kobe Bryant jersey. And I remember one day he was like, here, you can have it. And I wore that jersey out. When I tell you guys I wore that jersey till it was like the colors were fading on the jersey from washing it, because that's how much I loved my Kobe Bryant jersey. And the year that they lost against the Pistons in the NBA Finals, I cried like, because I knew it was over. I knew the magic and what they meant to me in my life was over. So it was hard for me when they lost. And then obviously Shaq got traded. He went to Miami Heat. And I found a new love in Dwayne Wade. Not gonna lie, Dwayne Wade is my favorite player of all time. When people talk about the GOAT, or when they talk about, who is the greatest player of all time, I don't want to have that discussion just yet. But for me, my GOAT, in my opinion, in my book, is obviously Dwayne Wade, and right under him would be Kobe Bryant. He just inspired me to always be better. So, hopefully that memory still lives on. And I believe it lives on with a lot of us. Even if you didn't too much particularly care for how arrogant he came off, you couldn't deny his talent. You couldn't deny how hard he worked, and how he never complained. This man used to play with broken fingers. He used to be like, tape it up and I'm about to go score 40 points just because y'all decided that y'all were gonna try to get me out of this game by breaking my finger, so I keep that in my mind all the time, when I want to do something. When I started this podcast, who knows who's going to listen to me? Who knows who's going to really, okay, but having that mentality of like, this is something I want to do, this is something I love, and this is something I'm going to keep getting better at, it stays with me. It's a life lesson that a lot of basketball players don't teach you. So that's what Kobe meant to me. That's what for me, that's what it means to just, have a Mamba mentality of just, I'm going to be the best. It's no ifs, ands, or buts. And that's how I feel. So I just wanted to kind of end the basketball part with that. And also still ask the question again. Follow me on social media because Steph is still in the slump, guys. And the Warriors are winning. Just putting it out there. I have no idea why he's still in the slump. It's probably the most I've ever seen him in a slump as far as shooting is concerned, as far as anything else. So I'm just curious to see what it is. I believe when I'm watching the games with my own eye, the defenses have been playing him the same as they've been playing him. I mean, it's just the shots are not going down. He's getting really great looks. For me, again, I'm a sports enthusiast, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I was watching just some old highlights of him. I don't want to say film because it's not film, but just highlights of him. And I was kind of like looking at his shot then versus now. I personally feel like it's the same form, but it's almost like he's not getting enough lift from his legs. I don't know what's going on. Like, I know he's getting older, and I know like the shots don't always stay the same, but it's just weird. Like, if you look at how he played, like in like not even 2015, I can even just say 2017, 2018, and then you kind of like look at how he's been shooting now, you can kind of see a little difference. And I want people to like do that, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's a little different for me. So hopefully, we'll see what happens with Steph, but he's definitely still in the slump. But Warriors are still the second best team in the league, so even with Steph being in the slump, that's kind of dangerous to me that they're doing that, and they're doing it without Draymond Green. Draymond Green is the El Capitan of that team. Like, Steph and Clay are definitely, the cornerstones of the franchise, building the foundation. But if I was to say the concrete that kept this foundation together has been Draymond Green. So when they get him back, it's going to be great. And they have so many great players that are playing so well. Andrew Wiggins is playing on a level that a lot of people expected him to play when he first got drafted. He was a number one overall draft pick. So obviously he's living up to what the expectations were going to be. I remember I was watching Stephen A say something about like, well, when you're guarding the best team every night, and it's just, I don't even know if it was Stephen A, it was someone else, but I remember Stephen A was like, that's not an excuse. Like, he was the number one overall. So, and that's how I kind of feel too. Like, no matter what, Kawhi Leonard was guarding the best, and he was still out there making his little mid-range shots with his mid-range braids. So it's really no excuse. So, he's been playing well. And then obviously, if you guys don't know what's going on update wise for the Bulls, Javonte Green is day to day. Derrick Jones is gonna undergo surgery, as well as Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso. So hopefully, it's not season-ending surgery. Hopefully they're back before the playoffs. Who knows? But we'll keep that under there. So let's talk about football. It's like I'm excited to talk about football, but I'm also like, ew, because you guys know how I feel about the Rams. How did the 49ers fumble that? I don't know. So I just want to send out a huge congratulations to the Cincinnati Bengals. I want to send out a huge congrats to them. When I tell you I am a fan of Joe Burrow. I only support Chicago Bulls, period, point blank. I just said Chicago Bulls. I meant Chicago Bears. I only support the Chicago Bears, period, point blank. It is what it is. I bleed orange and navy blue and white in my veins. My kids are going to be Chicago Bears fans. Their kids are going to be Chicago Bears fans. Even when the future is like we're virtually watching football and people are not physically watching it, the Chicago Bears are still going to be around. And even then, it's only going to be Bears for the rest of my life. However, every once in a while, there is a player that captures my heart, and that has been Mr. Joe Burrow. I mean, this man is so swaggy, y'all. Like, it's just a swag about him that just makes you just smile when you watch him play, because it's like no matter how much you knock this man down, he's gonna get up and make a play. And like I said before, that cannot be taught. That's something that you bring to the game, and that's something that needs to be recognized. This man is in his second year, guys. Second year of playing, and his team is going to the Super Bowl. You can actually say he led his team to the Super Bowl. I believe that the Bengals defense has been heating up when it's needed to. I do think there is some issues as far as the linebackers. Sometimes I feel like they're too aggressive, and a lot of times they leave the middle of the field open for you to kind of like work there. And sometimes the DBs have to play a little bit you still have to play smart as a secondary, but I feel like they don't keep enough people in front of them when the linebackers are being that aggressive. And I feel like that's just one thing that obviously the Bengals need to work on. But I mean, overall, I mean, you're down 18 points. What type of I mean, I know I sound like I just no words, because I'm just like, what type of faith, what type of, what do you have inside of you that tells you in an AFC game, oh, I'm down 18 points, but it's fine. We'll get them. We'll do it. We got this. I need some of that. They need to bottle that, just like in Space Jam when he bottled, the talent. When Bugs Bunny did that, and it was just some water. I need the Bengals to start serving that to us regular folk, because that was just amazing. Do I feel like the Chiefs fumbled? No, I feel like the Bengals were just better. Not even but yes, the Bengals were just better. For me, with Patrick Mahomes is, I remember in 2018 or some time ago when I used to work for this big box store. Not going to say its name because, just in case. I no longer work there, so I'm just going to keep that to myself. But there was a friend of mine, former friend, whatever you want to call him, who we used to talk about sports all the time. And I remember I was like, Patrick Mahomes is like definitely heating up the league, and he's definitely doing stuff that, most people are just going to be like, I'm going to tell my kids that Patrick Mahomes, I said, but defenses are going to figure him out. Defensive coordinators are going to figure him out. And I'm just waiting for the day where when they figured him out, what is he going to do then? What is it that he's going to do that's going to cement him or cement him into something where people are just like, okay, well, even if you figure this man out, he's still gonna. You can't have a game plan for Patrick Mahomes. Almost like, I don't want to say Tom Brady-ish, but almost to that extent. Because they've already put him, they've put Patrick Mahomes in the conversation of the best that we've ever seen. And I feel like, just like with Aaron Rodgers, with that type of hype around you, there are certain expectations for you to win. And when I say win, I mean in the biggest stages. Last week, what I saw from Patrick Mahomes was amazing. And that will never get taken away. However, I need people to stop turning a blind eye to when he makes those mistakes that can cost a game. And he did make a huge mistake when he threw that interception. And I know people are like, well, it's a team game, it's this game. And I totally get it. And I'm not saying you're wrong. But what I'm saying is, like, I just need people to acknowledge that Patrick Mahomes is human. Patrick Mahomes makes mistakes. Patrick Mahomes is not invincible. And when you really dissect it, Patrick Mahomes came into the league under a system that has been in place and that has been consistent. Consistency is the key to winning. When you are consistent, look at Kyle Shanahan. No, yeah, the 49ers did lose, but when he told himself he was committed to running the ball, and that's what he did. Patrick Mahomes got to sit and learn an offense, learn a system, be consistent in it, know it, and make it his own. And as well as being surrounded by like a lot of talented people around him, and like Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, you have McKinnon, you have Pringles. I mean, you have so many people that I can name that are talented on their own. And when you have that much talent around you, and you have they actually ran the ball really well. Just to read this to you, because I know you guys probably would not believe me, and y'all know I keep my notes. Okay, y'all know I keep my notes. As far as rushing, they rushed more than the Bengals. They had 139 rush yards, and the Bengals only had 116. The 2 turnovers definitely did not help them. But if I was to read you guys, like, the game was just this close. The Bengals had 21 first downs. The Chiefs had 24. Passing first downs, Bengals 12, Chiefs 17. Rushing first downs, Bengals 8, Chiefs 6. First down from penalties, 1 even. Third down, Bengals were 8 of 14, Chiefs were 6 of 12. How many plays they ran? Chiefs ran 67, Bengals ran 66. How many yards? Chiefs had 375, Bengals had 359. How many drives? Chiefs had 11, Bengals had 10. Yards per play, 5.6 for Chiefs, 5.4 for Bengals. Passing yards, 236 for the Chiefs, 243 for the Bengals. Yards per pass, 6.2 for the Bengals, 5.5 for the Chiefs. I mean, again, you can take what you want from it, but I just feel like, the game was pretty even. Again, Patrick Mahomes is not superhuman. He played a really great game. And, I mean, that's all you can ask for. I don't think any Chiefs fans should feel like, oh, we just blew it. I don't believe they blew it. When I watched that game, it was more just like, deja vu. When they played them earlier in the season, it was definitely deja vu. But, man, it's just something about those Bengals, man. It's something about the Bengals team. I'm not a fan because, again, I'm loyal to the end. Bears all day. The Bears. But I'm definitely a fan of Joe Burrow. I'm a fan. I am a fan. I'm a fan. And I'm going to keep saying that. So, obviously after that, we had the San Francisco 49ers and the Rams, which for once, the 49ers actually led in the game and wasn't playing catch up. And I was quite shocked because I was like, wait, the 49ers are not playing catch up to a team. I don't know how I feel about this because usually they are, but sure. I'm just going to give recognition to the Rams for, their defense stepped up when they needed to. Again, Matthew Stafford had a really great game plan laid out for him, and he followed that game plan, and I'm happy that he followed his game plan. Do I think Matthew Stafford is a quarterback that will win the game for you? No. In my opinion, he didn't win the game for them. The defense did. So I will never sit here and do that. As far as, Odell Beckham Jr. is concerned, I don't support players who play when they feel like playing and don't play when they don't feel like playing. So, I'm glad that he finally made it far enough, with the team. I felt bad for Deebo Samuels. That man balled out the whole. I mean, if there was like an MVP trophy for in the playoffs just for like the best player, that is left in the playoffs, it would go to him. I felt my heart really broke for him. Do I think Jimmy Garoppolo is to blame? No, it was a couple of drop passes. That interception, definitely, I know if he could take that back. And football is a team sport. I don't care what anyone says. I don't blame just one person for a loss. I think there are cases, because I know a lot of Bears fans are like, Nakia, Rex Grossman. I know you guys are saying that, but for the most part, I don't blame just one player. I look at a team holistically. I look at, a lot of factors into why the other team won and the other team didn't. One of the big ones for me, not saying that this was the reason why they lost, but just kind of pointing it out, is if you look at the penalties for the Bengals and the Chiefs game, the Bengals had 4 penalties of 30 yards. The Chiefs had 2 of 11, so they played a really great game. They still lost. And then you look on the flip side for the 49ers, they had 6 penalties of 54 yards, and the Rams only had 2 of 10. There was a couple of holding calls that I felt like should have gotten called, especially on the offensive lineman protecting Matthew Stafford. He still got sacked. There was a couple of just really, really interesting calls at an interesting time. Not gonna sit here and bash officiating, just kind of but ultimately the team that was supposed to win won. Congratulations to the Rams, congratulations to their fan base. I'm glad that they've been there. Will I be rooting for the Rams? No, not definitely. My opinions don't come from a biased place. My opinions come from a place of a team that really didn't impress me all year. A team that, for me, sometimes it's better to be lucky than to be good. So that's how I feel about the Rams. I will be proven wrong if they win a Super Bowl, which obviously I'm going to talk about that next Monday. I will be talking about what I look for in the Bengals Rams Super Bowl, as well as the matchup in general, who has disadvantages, who have advantages, and ultimately who my Super Bowl pick will be. I will not be discussing that today. Just wanted to talk a little bit about what happened this weekend for the football game. So that's just my opinion what happened. And lastly, I just wanted to end the show, or the podcast, the show podcast. I just wanted to end it with a little information that I said I was going to do for my women who have listened to my podcast, who, you guys, that was like my folder, so unprofessional, who listened to my podcast and who's like, okay, Nakia, give me some info, girl, give me some info. So we're going to talk about basketball positions. It's 1 through 5. So number 1 is a point guard. Number 2 is a shooting guard. Number 3 is a small forward. Number 4 is a power forward. And number 5 is a center. So when I say a point guard, ladies or gents who are just getting into sports, usually the fastest player on a team, they organize the offense by controlling the ball. If you guys wanted to, any players that you guys do know that are kind of famous is obviously Chris Paul, Steph Curry, even Damian Lillard. When people talk about the number 2, and that's the shooting guard, guys, it creates shots, mostly high volume, guards the opponent's best perimeter player. JJ Redick, Dwayne Wade, Tony Allen, Danny Green. Number 3, the small forward, responsible for scoring using cuts or dribble penetration, guys. Responsible for rebounds and steals, plays defense more active. When we think about players for that, You think about legendary Scottie Pippen, Grant Hill, even Kawhi Leonard. Number 4 plays offense. Usually their back is to the basket and plays defense under the basket as well, or against their opponent. A power forward would be like Anthony Davis, Kevin Garnett. Again, the number 4 guys is a power forward, and the number 5 is obviously a center. They use their height and their size to score and protects the basket closely. With that being blocks, or usually they're there to get the offensive rebounds or defensive rebounds. That would be obviously the legend himself, Shaquille O'Neal, or Nikola Jokic, that is currently playing in the league. If you guys want to know any big men that are really, really famous, he's like one of the, he's a big man who can actually shoot a 3 really well. So a lot of times, guys, the shooting guards and the small forwards are really similar, so they call them the wing players. The power forward and the center are usually called the post players. A lot of times the position of the number 4, which we talked about, which I mentioned earlier, as far as the power forward, is used really differently. So you guys, if you ever hear anyone saying like, oh, he's a 2 guard, but sometimes he can play the 1, he's a 3, but he can play the 5 or the 4, he's versatile, so he's a 5 who can play a 4. Usually they're talking about the different positions in basketball, and a lot of times it depends on the team as well. A lot of teams don't have the size or even sometimes the height to have like a traditional center like a Shaq. So a lot of times you will see people like Draymond Green playing center. You see that a lot with Warriors. They do call that small ball. So just take what I gave you and just know that's what a 1 through 5 is for basketball. I am so excited to keep giving you guys content, to keep coming to you guys. I love doing this. I love talking, so this has been a great thing. I've gotten a lot of feedback. People have been telling me like, oh, I love your voice, it's so great, it's so clear, and that's obviously my Yeti mic. But thank you guys for some of the support that I've gotten. Again, just please follow me on social media. Make sure that you guys are active on social media, so I know that you guys are out there listening. You guys are, being active. I actually am going to do a podcast on Mondays and Fridays. I feel like 2 days a week is actually really pretty cool. I think I want to dedicate my time to do that, but I definitely want to do a video podcast as well. I want to put some video to me talking. So on Friday I will be releasing a episode for strictly just the Chicago Bears. I'm gonna be talking about the new hires. I'm gonna be talking about how I felt about the season in general, what I felt about past seasons, giving you guys some stats on what I expect from this new coaching staff as far as just the success of the Bears. I'm going to be, I've done a lot of research. I do research before I get on my podcast. That's why I have notes. I want to make sure that I'm coming with facts and just not opinions. So I'm just going to be talking about, as a fan, as someone who loves sports, as someone who, again, I study, I study, I want to know what I'm looking at. I want to know what I'm talking about, as well as what I'm trying to understand when I watch on TV. So I'm going to be talking about it all, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it. I can't wait for you guys to see me, to see what I look like, for you to be like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. Just for some context, I am 5'10", so I'm kind of tall for the most part. So, again, just whatever. I don't know. Do what you will with that information. But as always, you guys, in case you missed it,